Flu numbers skyrocket across the state. The latest numbers and what you can do to protect yourself.
House Senator Tammy Baldwin is looking north to Canada with a new proposal to help make prescription drugs more affordable.
And a warning from the state for those looking to buy a vehicle online, how to avoid being scammed. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. Well, thanks for joining us. It is a rather warm start to the week. Temperatures today reaching the lower 50s.
Big difference. Will that trend stick with us through the rest of the week? Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington is on the patio. Look at you out there with no coat.
No coat. I wanted to throw the drama out here. A week ago, we weren't even out on the patio. And now 1 week later, our temperatures are nearly 20 degrees above normal. How about that for a week in terms of progress out on the patio? And to answer your question, Susan, this warm weather is going to stick around really for the next 7 to 10 days. We got all the way up to 53, as Eric was just saying, low 50s in southern Wisconsin. A lot of viewer photos being submitted today. Hey, look at my car temperature out, showing low 50s outside. So gorgeous day. It doesn't get much better than this if you enjoy these temperatures for February. At right this very moment, it's 50 degrees in Madison, 49 in Bosqueville, 46 to the southeast in Janesville. A lot of 5-0s. There's a 5-1. Our friends in McFarland, a little cooler down towards the community of Perry and Belleville, but still very warm for this time of year. And our first one weather cam showing the ice on Lake Mendota right now, and that ice is going to slowly start to thin as we continue these very warm readings for much of the rest of the upcoming week. It's going to be warm tonight. We're going to track some showers coming up in Maine weather. And how warm can you expect your Tuesday? I'll let you know in a few minutes.
All right, Alex, thank you. 2 people are dead after a gas leak in Monroe County. Monroe County Sheriff's Office says the leak happened at a home on Hobby Road in the town of Oakdale. A caller went to the home as they had not heard from its residents. A teenage girl was pulled from the home and later pronounced dead at the scene. Emergency crews also found a man and 2 pets dead inside the residence. The incident remains under investigation, but investigators were able to find the source of the gas.
Well, we are in the middle of flu season, and many states, including Wisconsin, are getting hit very hard.
Our Jalen Banks joins us now with what numbers we're seeing in our state this flu season.
Many of you at home may have either had the flu or at least know somebody who's gotten it this season. And that's consistent not only throughout Wisconsin, but throughout the country, with experts saying this is the worst flu season in nearly a decade. According to the CDC, Wisconsin is one of many states with moderately high to very high flu activity. And the latest numbers from UW Health show from February 4th to February 18th, they had 100 admits for the flu, and 28 of those are hospitalized as of last week. And speaking to one expert, they say the outbreak can be attributed to end-of-the-year travel of 2024.
Remember back to the holidays a couple months back, we had epic kind of record travel levels, and you had a bunch of vulnerable people traveling here, there, and everywhere. Very few people wearing masks or taking protective measures.
The Wisconsin Department of Health Services says only a third of Wisconsin residents have received at least 1 dose of the flu vaccine, something Dr. Conway says may play a factor in the number of cases.
It's pretty critical. Especially for people that are in high-risk situations. Those same risk factors, whether it's older age or underlying immunologic problems or underlying medical conditions, are the same things that set you up for bad outcomes with influenza.
And the strain causing the most trouble has ties to the Badger State.
The predominant strain is an influenza A 2009 H1N1. Primarily identified actually here in Wisconsin. So many places in the world actually call it Wisconsin strain of influenza A.
Reporting in studio, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Jalen. And we may not be out of the woods yet. Influenza B typically spikes during the spring.
Well, the number of measles cases continues to grow as well. 8 states now reporting the illness. It's important to know the warning signs of measles. Early on, it can mimic a respiratory illness, causing a cough, red eyes, and extreme congestion. Typical measles cases also have a red blotchy rash that develops 3 to 5 days after symptoms start, and tiny white spots inside the mouth 2 to 3 days before symptoms begin. Experts say vaccination is the best protection.
For the vast majority of people, if you've gotten your measles shots, you should be protected. It should be something that works for life.
Before 1963, when vaccines were not routinely given, there were between 400 and 500 people dying every year in the U.S. from measles. In 2015, there was just one death, the most recent in the U.S. from the illness.
Newly proposed legislation in California is hoping to crack down on young kids shopping for anti-aging products. The bill covers items with ingredients like retinol and vitamin C. It would make it illegal for companies to sell over-the-counter products to shoppers under the age of 18. One dermatologist says social media is contributing to a skincare obsession.
So I think it's important to educate these children that while these ingredients are good, and they might even be recommended for teens with acne or hyperpigmentation, but as a general rule, they're better off sticking with the basics.
Doctors say those basics include keeping your skin clean, applying sunscreen, and moisturizing. The new standards for labeling a food healthy have been pushed back. The FDA says the new rule will start about 2 months from now on April 28th. The new requirements include a limit on added sugars and sodium. Food companies would have until 2028 to update their products if they want to use the word healthy on the label.
New legislation would make prescription drugs cheaper by importing them from Canada. The bill is being introduced by a bipartisan group of lawmakers, and that includes Wisconsin U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin. It would allow Americans to safely import prescription drugs from Canada, lowering costs and creating more competition in the pharmaceutical market. Now, in a statement to News 3 Now, Senator Baldwin took aim at the pharmaceutical industry, saying, quote, "Big drug companies are ripping off Americans, and far too many families in Wisconsin are struggling to afford the prescription drugs they need to stay healthy. It's just not right," end quote. In 2022, Congress passed the Inflation Reduction Act to lower health care and prescription drug costs. The cost savings for the first 10 drugs will go into effect next year.
The U.S. Supreme Court will not hear arguments in a pair of appeals seeking to wipe out protest buffer zones around abortion clinics. The move will leave those restrictions in place for now. Lower courts had tossed out both appeals based on a 2000 decision from the Supreme Court that upheld a similar buffer law in Colorado. Two conservative justices said they would have heard the cases. A federal judge has paused DOJ and its access to some sensitive government data. A judge temporarily blocked the Education Department and the Office of Personnel Management from sharing data with DOJ. The order halts sharing the personal information of about 2 million union members who sued over the department's access to the data. The order remains in place until March 10th.
The Wisconsin Department of Transportation urging consumers to be careful when purchasing cars online. Now, this comes after an increase in reports of online vehicle sale fraud. Scammers are creating fake websites or social media pages where cars are priced below market value with no in-person contact with the dealer. WISC-TV recommends people research the dealership ahead of time, refrain from sending any money, and visually inspect the vehicle before buying. And another scam sweeping the nation, trying to make money by convincing people they owe an unpaid toll. Drivers across the country are receiving texts threatening legal action if they don't pay an outstanding toll fee. The fake texts are often sent from an international number and can include a link to pay. Experts say if you identify a text as fake, you can report it as junk, block the number, but scammers are finding a workaround.
When I block the number, they send more the different phone numbers. It's incredible. They have many phone numbers.
Experts say if you receive a text and worry it may be legit, don't use any contact info in the text. Instead, reach out directly to your state's tolling agency with a phone number or website that you know is real.
Starbucks is announcing cuts to its workforce today. The company's CEO says it will be laying off over 1,100 corporate workers. Additionally, several hundred open and unfilled positions are now being eliminated. The coffee chain is going to eliminate about 30% of its food and beverage offerings over the next few months in order to streamline its menu.
Volunteers in Ozaukee County are ensuring that a 165-year-old lighthouse lives on for another century. Dave Geraci and his wife Nicole are entering their second summer as some of the resident lighthouse keepers at the 1860 light station in Port Washington along Lake Michigan. The couple dresses the part. Nicole even grew up under the same lighthouse's glow.
I had never imagined that I would be able to stay in the lighthouse. The thing that I like most about it are the stories.
And thanks to the local historical society's Lighthouse Keeper program, more than a dozen groups will get to spend a week living there this summer and volunteer as hosts and tour guides.
Our website, channel3000.com, is expanding its daily coverage of the Green Bay Packers with the hiring of a Packers reporting veteran. Jason Wilde is joining our team. And earlier today, Eric sat down with Wilde to talk about what to expect from the Packers during the offseason.
Yeah, the draft in Green Bay is a huge deal, but this is a big offseason for the Packers as a whole. Brian Gutekunst has issued the challenge that we need to ramp up our urgency, compete for championships. That means him too, as I wrote at channel3000.com. They need to make some moves that get this team over the hump that they've been unable to surpass the last two seasons.
Wilde will provide free daily exclusive reporting online.
We are really lucky to have him on board. Your home for Packer coverage this year and beyond. Coming up ahead still on News 3 Now at 5, Apple looks to invest hundreds of billions of dollars right here in the U.S.
And President Trump meets with the leader of France at the White House, the ongoing negotiations to create peace in Ukraine. That's next. On Wall Street today, mixed numbers on this Monday as the NASDAQ takes a 237-point dive. The Dow Jones climbed 33. The S&P 500 loses 30. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Today marks 3 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the start of that war.
And President Donald Trump hosted French President Emmanuel Macron at the White House today, talking about how to bring an end to the conflict. Erica Brown has the details from the White House.
President Trump says he will soon be meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I will be meeting with President Zelensky. In fact, he may come in this week or next week to sign the agreement.
The Trump administration has been pushing Ukraine to grant the U.S. access to deposits of rare earth minerals. Ukraine has one of the world's largest deposits of graphite and lithium, which are used to make batteries for electric vehicles, as well as titanium. Trump says a deal would help pay back billions the U.S. has spent supplying weapons for the war.
We're, I think, getting very close to getting an agreement where we get our money back over a period of time.
While more than a dozen Western leaders gathered in Kyiv Monday to show their support for Ukraine, French President Emmanuel Macron looked to make that case with Trump at the White House.
We do share the objective of peace, but we are very aware of the necessity to have guarantees and solid peace in order to stabilize the situation.
In the Oval Office, President Trump said he's also considering new economic ties between the U.S. and Russia. The U.S. put severe economic sanctions on Russia for its attack on Ukraine, and new trade agreements could include some relief.
They have very valuable things that we could use, and we have things that they could use, and it would be very good if we could do that. I think it would be a very good thing for world peace and lasting peace.
Signaling the shifting policy towards Russia, the U.S. voted against the United Nations resolution Monday condemning Russian aggression in Ukraine. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Well, that resolution was introduced by America's European allies. Russia, North Korea, Belarus, and 14 other Moscow-friendly countries joined the U.S. in voting against the resolution.
The U.S. is halting plans to house migrants in tent structures at Guantanamo Bay amid concerns that they don't meet detention standards. Last month, the Trump administration said it would be building out tent structures at the U.S. base to house an anticipated 30,000 migrants. However, sources say the tents lack air conditioning and electricity, which are required by ICE. Migrants are still being placed in the detention facility on the base.
Apple has announced it plans to invest $500 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. The tech giant says the investment will create 20,000 jobs. The announcement comes weeks after President Trump imposed a 10% tariff on all imports from China. Most of Apple's iPhones are manufactured in China. The multi-billion-dollar investment includes building a server manufacturing facility in Houston, as well as expanding data center operations in 5 states.
Pope Francis remains in critical condition in the hospital, but the Vatican says he is improving. A prognosis for the 88-year-old pontiff has yet to be released. He's suffering from double pneumonia and has been been in the hospital since February 14th. Doctors and nurses at the hospital prayed for his health during a mass, and Catholics around the world are keeping the Pope in their prayers as he faces this latest health scare.
You can't help but feel touched by him, and now you just want to feel a way we can, just through prayer, accompany him in his need right now.
The voice of the Pope is so important at the moment. The world is full of hatred, and he's a voice of love.
The Vatican started nighttime prayers for Pope Francis in St. Peter's Square, inviting the public to join with cardinals and other members of the clergy for an evening rosary.
Well, let's look at the forecast now. The 40s and 50s will stick with us throughout the week.
And then some rain, maybe a little bit of snow in the cards. Boy, you got everything but the kitchen sink in there, Alex.
Pretty much everything. I'll add something else in there. Maybe a little bit of thunder tonight. We'll look at that too with Future Track in just a moment. So the three things you need to know. Sorry, I got squeaky shoes. I was out there on the patio. We have light rain that is expected tonight, just a couple of showers. Then Tuesday, we will be sunny and warm, and really warm through much of the week. Any snow shower activity that we get Wednesday, perhaps again Thursday night going on into Friday, will be that wet variety. I think the predominant form of precipitation is very much so going to be in the form of rain. So take a look at radar 3000. We're going to see just to the south and to the west here, just south and west of 151 near Platteville, over towards Shullsburg and over towards Gratiot, where we have just a couple of green returns, as it's called on the radar. Could have a couple of raindrops falling from the sky here as we look at our Queen Bee Radio sky cam. I think the chances of that rain making it to the ground right now is low because the air is somewhat on the dry side. But just wanted to take a peek here with our first warn weather cam to see if we have any raindrops on the camera lens. Raindrops will be coming down as we move a little bit further into the evening as the atmosphere gets a little bit more on the wet side. Could be looking at a couple of showers stretching from La Crosse to Richland Center to just south of the Dells to Madison. Again, we can't rule out a couple claps of thunder or a flash of lightning with the way the energy that we have in the atmosphere is this evening. Showers stretching just north of Madison by midnight, and then they scoot off towards the south and towards the east. By the time we get to 6 o'clock, where you don't see white, that means sunny skies return, and we got a beautiful day in store for Tuesday. If you like the warm temperatures that we had today, we've got more on Tuesday and beyond. Rainfall chances, this is not going to be a big weather maker by any stretch of the imagination, maybe just a tenth of an inch of water. Overnight lows tonight, low to mid 30s. Look at our average low temperature up here above me. 18, and our normal high temperature for this time of year is 35 degrees. So our low temperatures tonight are our normal high temperatures, and our high temperatures Tuesday will be in the middle to upper 40s with sunny skies out there. So it's going to be another gorgeous one out there on Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the following Wednesday and Thursday behind me here. All those temperatures are going to be at or above normal with on and off rain and snow shower chances. Again, the best chance for any wet snowflakes, and they'll likely be more few and far between, will be during the overnight hours and the early morning hours of Thursday night going into Friday. And we are watching a weather system of significance on Tuesday going into Wednesday in the Midwest. It could bring some heavy rain. There could be some thunderstorms with that weather system, and snow on the backside. We'll be keeping a close tab on that. And coming up at 6, we'll be talking about, well, why this long stretch of warm weather? Susan, Eric?
All right, Alex, thank you. And next at 5, going to the bathroom in style. The luxury porta potties being reserved by partiers in Green Bay ahead of the draft.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
A grandma in Massachusetts and her 17-year-old grandson have a special bond.
And a special project. It's one that might surprise you, too. Deborah Luke and Connor Hedrick spend their weekends rebuilding a 1987 Firebird, and Grandma is leading the way.
We've pretty much just been tackling like the mechanical side, like the engine. Redone the brakes. It's very fun working with her, and then every step is like a big milestone.
He's very talented. He knows about cars, but he's never actually put his hands on, and it's just wonderful to be able to work with him. I love it.
Coolest grandma ever.
That is something.
The pair have been working on this project for 2 years. Grandma Luke says her love for cars began when she was a teenager.
Well, it is Titletown's turn to host the draft, of course, and all those visitors will have to use the restroom at some point or another. And it seems like a typical bathroom, but it's also on wheels. Check this out. Greg Grodegrit has been running his Neat and Clean Portables business for more than 2 decades now. The trailers come fully stocked with flushing toilets, hand wash sinks, air conditioning, even just for Susan, a stereo system.
A lot of interest actually right around Lambeau, a lot of the party houses and stuff. So we are giving out a lot of estimates and stuff at this time. Yeah, hopefully be signing some contracts shortly.
Signing big contracts for your portable potty. Greg says he's used to supplying portables to big events like when the PGA Championship has been over to Whistling Straits in recent years. This time for the draft, he says he might order even more trailers if the demand is high enough. Get those orders in early, folks.
Make your reservation, Eric.
For your tailgate parties in style. We'll have a final check of the forecast after a short break. Stay with us.
A measles outbreak in Texas is the worst in 30 years and spreading. We have a report on the risk to neighboring states and beyond.
And a town in Appalachia has offered people $20,000 to move there. How's it working? That's our Eye on America tonight on the CBS Evening News.
Finally at 5, a family is breathing a sigh of relief after their kitty, who had been missing for several weeks, was found in a very unlikely place inside the couch that was then shipped across the country. It started when the Hansons were moving from Washington to Colorado.
It really liked that couch. On the day the movers arrived, the family's cat, Sunny Lou, vanished. The Hansons were forced to leave without the cat, or so they thought. When their furniture arrived, the cat was discovered inside the family's couch, and now the pet is back in its family's loving arms, following one truly odd odyssey. Cats get themselves
happens all the time.
So many predicaments.
Yep.
Hiding in a couch. Alex is back, and we're feeling the warmth out there today.
Feeling the warmth. We have raindrops right now on the Queen Bee Radio Skycam. I was talking about that in Maine weather. I didn't see any raindrops, but there you go. There's a couple of raindrops.
Kind of washing off all that snow melt.
Yeah, washing the snow. And there's barely any snow now on the ground in the Platteville area, and we had a huge loss today with temperatures getting into the 50s in southern Wisconsin. Tonight we'll stay above freezing. Overnight lows in the low to mid 30s. That's our normal high temperature for this time of year. It's incredible what a difference a week has made, staying warm and staying unsettled through the next 10 days.
And we're back in 30 minutes for News 3 Now at 6. The CBS Evening News is up next.